Hello. Last August there were a couple of disturbing videos on YouTube. It disturbed me anyway because I had powder coated some thousands of bullets. This was lead wheel weights, clip-on wheel weight bullets, and those videos kind of indicated that in Ziploc bags, when those bullets were stored with unique and Bullseye powder, that there was some deterioration of the powder coat, leaving an oil residue. And I find that kind of unacceptable for loading bullets and storing them, and that was one of my intentions. But so immediately, last August 2018, I went out to my garden. This is where I'm at right now, and here's an old cherry tree stump, and I put 2 jars, glass jars, clean glass jars with nothing in them except powder coated bullets and Bullseye and unique powder. And since that time, it's been 8.5 months, I have not looked at this nor touched it. And so this will be the first time that I will find out if there is deterioration of the powder coat when mixed with those 2 powders. And so this could go either way for me. It could be good news or bad news. Bad news if I've got some thousands of bullets I've cast up and powder coated and I can't trust the powder coat. So I think this is a very, very important video for me. So let's unveil it. Looks like a little catkin or something got on there. I put these in this black plastic to kind of protect it a little bit, and also it gathered heat in the summer. In fact, it got so hot that the black plastic had deteriorated and it's broken loose, it looks like. So this is a surprise. So I'm going to take this. You can see right here, they've been here quite a while. So I'm going to pour out. I've got a couple of different kind of powder coats. It's all Ellenwood. And I put, as you can see, there's a variety of bullets here. Now let's see, in the bottom of this jar, which was sealed, there is no oil. However, there is a white ring of some sort of residue that's gathered. As we look at the bullets, this is neon yellow, and it looks just like it did when I put it in here. Here's another neon yellow, looks good. Here's a green 45. It looks good. Here's a different color in a 357, and it's perfect. Here's a 45. This is a Hensley & Gibb. I think it's a 34 design. Perfect. It's just perfect. No oil whatsoever. Here's a round nose, Hensley & Gibb. Perfect. Perfect. This is good news for me. Although there is a little residue down in the bottom of there from something. Here's a green one. I think this is forest green or timber green. I'll have to go look it up. Clean. Nothing sticking to it. Now this one is a concern. Let me look at it. Oh, okay. Now this may mess up my study because I lubed this bullet and with bullet lube, sized it. The bullet lube has gotten a little gummy and stuck to the powder. So, but that powder is dry. Get rid of it here. At any rate, so somehow one of my lube powder coated bullets got in there, but even that, the lube picked up some powder, but it didn't seem to mess anything up. And let's see what else is in this other one. Now that was, ooh, it popped. Had a little vacuum in there. That was unique. Okay, now we're going to do Bullseye, which was another powder that was in that other study. So far, it's just as dry and powdery as you could expect. This may be a little different. There is a little bit of residue in the bottom. Let me look at this. Okay. Powder's sticking to that bullet. So it appears like there's a minimal oil on that one. Here's the red one. Same thing. There's enough oil on the bullet that the bullseye's sticking to it. Here's another one. Enough oil that the bullseye's sticking to it. And here, interestingly, is a red 9mm, nothing sticking to it. I'll have to look that powder coat up. And then here is a different green, Ellenwood green, that's got some oil on it, minimal, but enough that the powder has stuck to it. But there's no excessive. Hope my wife doesn't drop a match out here. At any rate, this is not what I had hoped, but the unique did not affect, and as far as I can tell, any of the bullets that have been here for 8.5 months. On the other hand, the Bullseye certainly seems to have generated, at least 4 out of the 5 bullets, it generated enough oil that the powder stuck to it. Now, interestingly, that 9mm hasn't. So I use different powder coats here from different companies. So this is, let's go get it on the shade and take a little closer look at this. Well, that's interesting. Not what I'd hoped, but it's not as bad as I thought it might be either. Too early to draw conclusions, but immediately, I guess the first thing I would think was, I'm not sure I'd have any concern loading and storing bullets with Unique, but with Bullseye, I probably would. So let's go over in the shade. Okay, here are the bullets with a little better view. This is the group where we used Unique powder. Various styles, various coatings, different companies. None of them show any deterioration at all. Now this one has some powder stuck to it because I accidentally put in a bullet that I had lubed in a Star lubricizer, and that, interestingly, didn't even contaminate the rest of the bullets. It's just that one. But so with Unique powder, it would appear that I could load those, leave them in cold weather, hot weather, all of that for 8.5 months, and I wouldn't have a concern. And if I had it in a controlled temperature environment, I don't think I'd have a concern, because prior to doing this test, I cast up a lot of other cast bullets. I mean, bullets powder coated, and I've got them by the scad loads of these things, some thousands, and they've been stored, not a problem. So I guess I don't have any problem with storing them like that. Storing them in Unique powder or loaded with Unique powder doesn't appear to be a problem. Interestingly, in the bottom of the Unique powder jar, there is a white. It's not a powder. It's not a oil. It's just like it's just a white ring that for some reason or another developed. during all of those cold weather and all of that time. And so something did happen to cause that white ring in that jar, and that jar went through a dishwasher, so I don't think there was anything in it. It really it was a clean jar. What's disturbing to me about this other group of bullets that I stored for 8.5 months in Bullseye powder is that it also created a little white ring in the bottom of the jar, but it was not oily, it's not sticky, it's just a white ring of residual. It's not a powder, you'd have to scrub it to get it off. However, what I didn't want to see is that of the 5 bullet types that I stuck in there, 4 of them definitely showed some minor oil developing on the powder coating, and powder sticking to them, and to one degree or another. That red one has a lot more, and the green one has quite a bit. This one not so much. This one quite a bit, and this one, this 9mm, shows nothing sticking to it. So it was a different powder coating in the same jar. And now whether one bullet affected the others or not, I don't know. But I think what's important to me is that I probably, based on this limited test, do not want to have loaded bullets with powder coating using Bullseye powder for any extended period of time in very cold and very hot weather. Now remember, this was 8.5 months. The temperatures range from, who knows, under that black plastic, but it got up to over 100 degrees without the black plastic, and without in the middle of my garden, plain sun, all the hottest months of the year, and then it went through the coldest months of the year and got down to 0 several times, and was near 0 numerous times, and then now here it is spring, and this is what has happened. So offhand, it would appear that unique powder is probably going to be safe to load your rounds ahead of time and store them. The Bullseye powder, I guess I'm going to be cautious about those. Now, how long would they store, and would it only affect the base of the bullet, but any leakage of oil into the powder would be a concern to me, just because I'm kind of anal that way. But interestingly, this one didn't show that. This one powder that I used just didn't show that problem. So I don't know. I guess the user can decide what your feelings are on this, and if you'd like to leave some comments on this, that would be helpful. I'll go and bring out some of the bullets that of before and after. As far as discoloration goes, compared to the originals, we'll find that out when I bring the originals out and set them up. But they don't appear to have faded, but we won't know that until we bring the originals out. Okay, here we are comparing the bullets that were stored in my garden in the glass jars for 8.5 months through hot summer and cold winter, below 0 weather. And so this is the Bullseye powder, and it did create some residue, and a very light oily residue. And if you can see right here, the bullet that's on your right is sticky enough that the powder really stuck to it. And then here's the one that never went through that. They just sat in my reloading room. So you know, there's a slight color shift, but definitely there was some deterioration of something. The powder, it sounds to me like, or the powder causing the powder coat to deteriorate, one or the other. Here on this green, some powder residue sticking to the bullet, the truncated cone, And then this is a control, the one that was in the reloading room. There's a slight, maybe a very slight color shift too. Then we look at this Hensley Gibb bullet here, and we notice, I think that's, I can't remember if it's a Hensley Gibb or not, but at any rate, there is a slight color shift there too. Maybe it's just from the powder, but it's very slight, hardly noticeable. It's just like it's just a little dirty. It probably would clean up the same as the original, which was stored in the house, but it's got a slight oily cover to it too, as well as this Lee bullet mold, the truncated cone bullet here. Powder stuck to it, slightly oily. The one that was stored without, just in a jar in the house, pristine just like it was, same period of time. And then we've got these reds here, and I do notice a slight color shift in the red, or a loss of red color, but not much. Just, and interestingly, on this one, there's no no powder no powder stuck to it, no oily residue, but there is a slight color shift. So I'll have to go back and check which powder coat that is, but it definitely, it did affect all but the one, and I'll have to research this one to see which one it didn't and why it didn't. I don't know. I guess that's another study that I have to take. So here's what we have with the unique powder, which reacted differently with the powder coatings and the bullets. We have the bullet on the right is the one, these are the ones that were stored during the really hot season of last summer, all winter and all spring, 8.5 months. But next to them is the bullet from the same batch, and there is no sticky residue on any of these. There may be a slight color shift, but you can't tell it if there is. This may even be a slightly different batch, but it looks a little lighter. But these all look the same, so I guess what I conclude from this is that with the unique powder, I don't have to worry too much about deterioration under extreme cold and heat with loaded rounds. But with Bullseye powder, I would be concerned, personally. Although I think over a period of time, who knows what would happen to your bullets. If you stored them like 5 years or something like that, and how would it be? It probably would still shoot, but it might affect your burning characteristics. Otherwise, those bullets that were stored in a vacuum and did not seem to be affected by the weather in the unique powder, but they were in the Bullseye. And I had hoped before doing this that the other videos I'd seen, there were some concerns about them, and I now have proven that there's some reason for some deterioration caused by certain powders. I would suggest that you look at mannyCA's videos and make some comparisons, maybe do some tests yourself and see what you think. I appreciate what mannyCA has done, because he turned me on to something that's important to me, and probably important to a lot of you too. Thank you.